Hi Floss-tube, welcome to my second Floss-tube video. I am Sarah, the Can-Am Stitcher. For those of you that saw my first video, you know that making a video was very much outside of my comfort zone, and again, this continues to be outside of my comfort zone. I am doing this in response to a challenge that had been issued to me by my sister. She is known as the Victoria, the Happy Stitching Nurse. So she and I talk regularly. We will FaceTime and stitch together. We'll quilt at the same time while we're FaceTiming, and so this ended up just as a natural progression from that. One of the things that we did was we challenged each other for the month of May to try our own Stitch Mania. What we came up with for our Stitch Mania was to create or start a new project each weekend in the month of May for 2021. All of the projects that I selected came out of a Blackbird Designs book called Winds of Autumn. So my first one was called Waiting for the Harvest, and this is a picture of what it would look, or the model from the book, and I will show you my progress. So here it is. It's actually finished and completely FFO'd. One of the things that you'll notice was I did take the opportunity to personalize it, and I added my own initials. I also used this lovely mottled brown on the back side of the pincushion, so I'm very, very happy with that. This was the designer is Barb Adams for Blackbird Designs. The stitch count is 89 by 51. I used a 32 count Belfast linen called Natural. I started it on the 1st of May and finished it yesterday, the last stitch, and then I FFO'd it yesterday as well. I am reading to you from the little notebook that I use. Any project I start, I immediately enter into my book. I take note of what the pattern is, the designer, when I start the first stitch, the last stitch. I always also then add in when I FFO a project. What needle I used, so I used a Bohan 26. And the floss that I used was called Gentle Arts Dark Chocolate, which was the called for floss from the book. I will then also add in any notes if I've personalized something, if I've had any adjustments to any of the stitches or the design, etc. It's something I do to, number one, keep me on track, and it also gives me information later on to refer back to if there's something that I found frustrating or I found worked really, really well. So that is that project. My second start for May out of the same book is, one moment, called Nebraska Prairie, and it is a little pincushion drum. And this involved another challenge for me, which was working on 36 count linen. I'll show you my progress so far. So here it is. What I did find was that with a 36 count, I ended up having to get a different type of magnifying glass to use for it. I purchased some over-the-head type that has different magnifying lenses, and I will probably show that on the next video that I'll have. I needed that because, boy, especially cross-stitching, as many of you well know, at the end of a long day, your eyes are tired, and I found that it was a little more challenging to look at a 36 count. So that was also my first time doing a 1/2. I'm looking forward to it. I do have to admit, I have to start my third challenge for the month of May this weekend, which would be today since it is Sunday, and I have not yet picked which one of the other 3 projects that I have slated. So I did pre-pick my 5 for those of you that hadn't. This is one of them. It is called October 31st. That one is done on a 32 count. So that's a possibility. The other two projects are on 36 count. This is one of them. It is called Blooming Sunflowers. I love the fact that it's a cute little bag, and I'm kind of leaning toward that one. And the other one is called Autumn Sound. That is this one. So if anybody wants to put in any comments or feedback and encouragement on which one you think I should start, please feel free. I will be starting it today. So that is where I'm at with my Maynia Challenge progress so far. So one finish, a start, and then another start to happen today. Another thing I wanted to talk about was one of the people that saw my first video, Deborah Watkins. She'd asked me about Hocus Pocus, which was a finish that I spoke about on my first video, and I will show that. Here it is here. And she'd asked where it came from, and so that came from a book called Dark Shadows by Sue Hillis, and I will insert here a copy of what the video, or sorry, a picture of the book. So a couple of things to share with that is, so I bought the pattern at my local store called Stitcher's Garden, and from my little handy dandy book here, the stitch count was 72 high by 51 wide. I used a mottled purple even weave 28 count fabric. I stitched 2 over 2. I started it in September and finished it actually on Halloween Day. I did the complete, not just the last finish, but last stitch finished on Halloween, but I FFO'd it that same day. I used the called for DMC flosses, and I made it as a hanging display so it freeforms inside of a frame. So those are the notes from that one. And then last weekend, of course, as it's obvious, I didn't do a video. I'm trying to decide how often I will do videos for this YouTube channel. But since last weekend was, of course, Mother's Day on Sunday, and on Saturday was, yay for me, my birthday. And so what I did was I did go to my local store and purchased a treat for myself. I was looking around, and there were so many beautiful items at the store, but I picked one. And I know that some of you are also working on this project. I have yet to start it. I have to pick the fabric that I want to use. I'm giving some thought around that, as well as what size I want it to be. So that will be a determiner on what type of fabric I select. But what I picked up was the Cross Stitch Nation. I'm even thinking, I know that a lot of people have, when they have been working on it, have changed some of the facial colors, the hair colors, so that it's more representative of the nation as a whole, which I think is really wonderful. I'm thinking about changing potentially some of the clothing colors, and I'm even thinking about maybe instead of doing it as a horizontal design, I may change it and do a vertical design, which is another big challenge for me because, as I said before, in the previous video, I'm still fairly new to all of this. So any changes that I make are really stepping outside of my comfort zone, but it's something that I feel that we should all feel the freedom to do. Make something our own and make it in a way that will fit into our lives for wherever we decide to display it. So that is what I purchased for myself, and I'm really looking forward to it. I also am trying to think about how I will finish it completely. That's something I do with each project because that helps me decide what size fabric I want to use, what type of fabric, and how I want to approach the project as a whole. Since some things don't fit into traditional sized frames, it's important for me to know how I want to finish it so that that way when I do reach that final stitch and look forward to finishing it, I already have that in place. I have a plan, I have an idea, and know where I'm going to go with it. Let me think, what else do I have? I think that's pretty pretty much it. I will tend to try and keep these videos on the shorter side for now. I don't know how long I will move forward with them in the future, if I'll make them 15 or 20 minutes, but I'm going to try and keep them always to a shorter length. One of the other things I want to do is always try and give a shout out to another Floss-tube member. So for this week, it's Hoodlums ×4, and I will put the link to Hoodlums ×4 down below, along with a link to my sister's YouTube channel and to my local stitching store that I frequent. Thank you again, and if you like this, please give a thumbs up and feel inclined to subscribe. Thank you.